So today's lesson is over 8th grade history. The lesson topic is citizenship. The text that will be discussed is 8.19D, and students will be able to identify examples of responsible citizenship, including obeying rules and laws, staying informed on public issues, voting, and serving on juries. The student is expected to understand the rights and responsibilities of citizens in the United States, review the 14th Amendment, and define a few key terms. Describe how people become U.S. citizens, describe the requirements and the steps of the naturalization process, as well as list the obligations and the duties of citizens. The purpose of this lesson is for students to be able to understand the importance of being a citizen. Citizenship gives them the knowledge and skills to understand, challenge, engage with politics, civil society, and the law. The materials that will be used in this lesson are dry erase boards, markers, instructional activities like graphic organizers, T-charts, note-taking strategies, questions and answers, call and response or multiple response strategies, quizzes, and review activity. The technology that will be used are video games, smart boards, Kahooted, and maybe Quizzes. The prior knowledge needed for this lesson is students knowing the characteristics of being a good citizen, identifying ways to practice good citizenship, and identify and explain the importance of individual acts of civic responsibility, including obeying laws, serving the community, serving on the jury, and voting. When teaching this lesson, I would actually start off by reading the 14th Amendment. I will add it to the next slide. After I read the 14th Amendment, I would ask students to write down 3 things that are granted by the 14th Amendment. Then I will call on students to randomly discuss the answers that they came up with. Also, I will go in more detail about the 14th Amendment and what it means to citizens. Also, we'll discuss and talk about citizens and citizenship. So we would actually define these words. Next, I would actually project the PowerPoint on citizenship. I'll post clips of the PowerPoint in the next slides. Next, I would actually model filling in the fill in the blank, the T-chart, or the graphic organizer. I'm not sure which one I would actually use at this time, but I have 3 of them that I could actually choose from. Depending on my students, the levels that they're on, and just basically me knowing them, I would actually decide before I actually deliver the lesson which one I would actually use during the modeling process. After modeling the activity for the students, next I would actually have guided practice, where I would actually give the students a few things for them to actually identify responsibilities and the duties of a citizen. So basically, now I want you to give it a try. I will display the graphic organizer on the board, and I will actually walk them through the process of completing the graphic organizer. The students can use their notes to complete it. Also, as I go through each section of the graphic organizer, I will actually discuss the components, the answer that I came up with, and where they could actually find it in the slides or their notes. So now for the independent activity. Once I've modeled and I've actually guided them through activities, now they should be able to complete an activity on their own. Whether it's actually completing another graphic organizer that's similar, and I give them a topic for them to fill it in as we completed it before. It will definitely be over items that we discussed in this lesson. Also, they could complete the T-chart, which is the obligations or responsibility activity. Or I can actually just give them maybe another handout specific to this lesson. I will actually post a copy of some of the things that I may do with them during this independent practice on the next slide. So taking into considerations my English language learners and maybe the special education population that I may have in my classroom, I will make sure that I read aloud the lesson or the text that we use. I'll call and respond on students, use movements. Now when I call on a student and I ask them something, I will increase the wait time depending on the student who I'm dealing with. Also the use of images, graphic organizers, additional time, and just scaffold the lessons based on the students that I have in my classroom. Upon closure of the activity, I will reread the 14th Amendment and ask the students who is a citizen of the United States. Ask them, how does someone become a citizen of the United States? What makes someone a good citizen? And then I'll ask for volunteers to read their answers, and I'll let them tell us their answers aloud. Now when it comes to check for understanding, I will actually provide students with questions to answer. I can also provide them another fill in the blank activity. I can display questions on the board and have them to answer them using the whiteboards. Now as a homework activity, I would actually have the students to create a flyer that shows me the requirements or how someone becomes a citizen or just the naturalization process. Also, I will include the activities or the questions that I may post to check for understanding. It could be an exit ticket. A lot of times I like to use Kahoot because it gets the students active and they're able to actually answer the questions on their own in a group, or we can answer them as a class. But since it's check for understanding, I will actually allow the students to pull out their technology like their phones or their tablets, whatever they may have, and let them answer the questions on their own. That way I can assess who actually understood the lesson and grasped what I was teaching them.